for being here today. Ms. Oz, is the safety of the American people on America's roads important to you?
Critical.
Would you say it's a top priority?
Yes.
Would you say it's a number one priority?
It's a critical priority, sir.
Appreciate that. You worked at Google X, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
On their self-driving cars? It's my understanding that they logged over 100,000 miles on public roads. Is that about right?
More than that.
More than that? And there was no public disclosure of that, is that correct?
Well, at the time, it was much less. We're talking about 2010 period, I presume, right?
Mm-hmm.
The testing was in compliant with what the company had?
You were on the team at the time and later defended this question saying, quote, keeping the project quiet enabled Google to test under the radar of public opinion and lawmakers. We just didn't want the program to slow down for any reason, end quote.
Yeah, that
Google,
was...
if I could finish, Google took it upon themselves to make the decision for the public and for regulators effectively using public roads and by extension, American lives as a test bed. Do you stand by this decision?
The decision at the time was accurate, Senator, because there was an absence of any kind of regulatory framework. The testing framework had been received. There was no bill at the time, and the company went ahead and made testing in accordance with the compliance they received.
Do you believe that innovation should be prioritized over public safety and oversight?
Absolutely not.
Do you stand by that decision then at the time?
I was not in the company during that period, during that 2010 period when the vehicles were being tested. I came in 2011. So the comment you're making, sir, was much later on.
Is this quote attributable to you, though? Did you say this, keeping the project quiet enabled Google to test under the radar of public opinion and lawmakers?
The context was keeping the engineering teams focused, keeping media and other concerning groups that wanted to know specifics was primarily the reason why we wanted to make sure that we kept the engineering teams focused and that there was no distraction. That was the metaphor that was used to describe that in the context.
Is that your quote, though, the one that I'm reading?
Probably, yes.
Probably?
I have to see it, but I would imagine I made a comment.
I'll get that to you. I'll submit that into the record so we can be certain there. What steps will you take to assure that this committee that you'll prioritize safety of the American people over interests of the industry?
While we were at Google and developing the program, I was presiding over some of the work that was being done to ensure that we had a program that could not be sinkable, sir. So that meant having extremely caution exercised at every node on the point of departure to recovery or to return of the vehicle to the home base. So that record stands for itself, and it's still probably the safest record in the industry.
Appreciate that. I mean, as you've heard from all of our colleagues, public safety matters very much to us. I appreciate you saying it's a top priority, critical priority. That's something I think that we can all agree on. So
thank you,
appreciate
Senator.
your responses there. Mr. Zerzan, you are currently the acting solicitor and principal solicitor at the Department of Interior. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you previously served as the General Counsel and Chief Administrative Officer at the Department of Interior. Is that correct?
No, sir. I think that was maybe an energy company I was in that role at.
Appreciate that. So would you say you have experience leading a major legal office and advising on federal law and regulatory issues?
Yes, sir.
Do you have substantive legal experience in transportation law?
Not with respect to the department itself, but given the interconnectedness of transportation with everything we do in this country, it's unavoidable.
How about infrastructure policy or regulatory issues specific to the Department of Transportation? For example, aviation, rail, highway safety, motor carrier rules.
I am not a lawyer who has a substantial amount of background with that set of laws.
Now, the Department of Transportation General Counsel typically needs deep knowledge across transportation-specific sectors. And as you know, our country faces tremendous transportation and safety issues right now. As I was just questioning Ms. Oz, air traffic controllers, autonomous vehicles, rail safety, all the rest. This administration just continues to baffle me with its staffing decisions. There's experts out there that are deep in all of this policy. I appreciate your honesty and your candor in that response, sir. I just don't understand, Mr. Chairman, why with all the depth of experts in and around specific areas, that sometimes this happens. I just don't understand it. Nothing against you personally. I appreciate the work you do, Department of Interior. I'm sure you are fabulous with the energy companies that you've supported as well. We should nominate you to be at the Department of Energy, or we should put you back into this spot at the Department of Interior, because you're doing well there. But nonetheless, that's just my opinion. Mr. Rutherford, one question I guess I have for you, sir, is January 6th. I'm sorry to bring this up again, but you posted that, you said that January 6th, that it was a disruption. You said that your father, a former congressman, was one of the few to continue to vote against certifying the votes after the January 6th disruption. Would you call January 6th an insurrection?
Mr. Senator, I'll tell you, I'm the son of a policeman. My father, who's a congressman, and I certainly don't condone violence against members of our law enforcement. So if you're speaking to that, that's one thing. If you're speaking to the certification of the vote, I think every member of Congress is required by law to certify the vote, and it's not until Congress has certified a vote that the president is elected.
My question is not those things. My question is very specific. Was January 6th an insurrection?
I would leave that to someone else to describe.
So you stand by calling it a disruption?
It certainly disrupted the process of the day.
I mean, look, to your point, I appreciate what you're saying there. People died that day. Officers were beaten. Some of them are no longer with us. Words matter, y'all, and we're going to be leaders in these positions.
Senator?
There's just, if I could finish, sir, because my time's up as well, and I appreciate the indulgence here. Mr. Chairman, I just hope just down the road with some of these things, we just remember that. You know, it all matters. I appreciate the service of your father as well, and the work that was done in those spaces. And you're all going to be confirmed. But just words matter as we just get through all this stuff is all that I'm asking. Thank you for the indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
During a Senate hearing, Senator Ray Luján, Democrat, New Mexico, pressed several nominees on issues of public safety, qualifications, and past statements. Luján first questioned Ms. Oz about her commitment to ensuring the safety of the American public on the nation's roads. She affirmed it was both a top and critical priority. The senator raised concerns about her previous work at Google X on self-driving cars, noting that over 100,000 miles have been logged on public roads without public disclosure. He cited a past statement attributed to her that suggested Google kept the project quiet to avoid interference from public opinion and lawmakers. Ms. Oz clarified that the intent behind keeping the project low profile was to maintain focus among engineering teams and avoid distractions, not to bypass safety or oversight. She emphasized that rigorous safety protocols were followed and pointed to the program's strong safety record in the industry. Luján then turned to Mr. Zerzan, acting solicitor at the Department of Interior, asking about his qualifications for a transportation-focused position. Zerzan acknowledged having limited direct experience with transportation law or policy. The senator expressed frustration that the administration had not selected a nominee with deeper expertise in transportation-specific issues. Finally, Luján questioned Michael Rutherford, nominated for Assistant Secretary of Transportation for Multimodal Freight, about his past comments on the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Rutherford had previously referred to the event as a disruption and noted that his father, a former congressman, was among those who voted against certifying the 2020 election results after the attack. When asked directly whether he considered January 6th an insurrection, Rutherford declined to use that term, stating it disrupted the day's proceedings but leaving the characterization to others. Luján responded that people died during the attack and law enforcement officers were assaulted, stressing that words matter and urging all leaders to recognize the weight of their language.